America is just showing off and trying to scare the hell out of anybody who would stand against us. You've got to consider that 2026 is the year that will change all of our lives. For better or worse, I don't really know, man. I'm just saying that it's going to change, and that everything's going to change. They've used directed energy weapons on a battlefield now. They're saying, yo, we could just, like, for 50 cents a pop, blow your munitions out of the sky. That's what you're seeing here. The first use of an iron beam. I mean, you know, I think that they've been used, actually, frankly, in other scenarios, but this is the first battlefield use of laser weapons by our government or allied governments. It's wild. Why is the American War Department releasing submarine footage, periscope footage, of sinking warships with torpedoes? They're sending a message to people. This is the message. The message is, you know, sometimes you just kind of have to flex and prove how scary you are. You have to bloody someone's nose. American submarine sunk an Iranian warship for the first time since World War II. A torpedo was used to sink a warship.
Iranian warship.
You can see it here.
In the Indian Ocean. And we'll play it on the screen there. An American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II.
Right.
Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win.
Okay, so they're just flexing. This is why they're releasing footage like, look at this, periscope footage. It looks like modern warfare gameplay. It's not. It's real, and it's a message. That's what all of this is. It's like more of a it's like every war. It's a propaganda war. Every war is a propaganda war. And this is a propaganda war for American strength. I'm okay with it, right? Like, meaning I want people to be fearful of America. I want American empire. This is what the Greenland play is. This is what taking over Canada is. This is what the Mexico play is. Father, tell Hegseth to let a submarine sink a ship. Gamers will love that. They do love that from posting the clip. The entire operation is in order to project strength, because everyone's wondering on the block whether it's China next, whether it's Russia, who can just have their way, you know, in Ukraine, whatever. Listen, I don't, like, you won't be finding advocating for forever war or foreign wars. I don't want it. I mean, I think there's a lane where you can, like, where I can be humble and accept the fact that, like, my initial instinct on Nicolas Maduro, my initial instinct on some of the stuff that they've done in South America has been like, geez, man, yo, like, chill. I don't want a humanitarian crisis in Venezuela, but the black bag in Maduro went great. You know, Caroline Leavitt saying effectively, and this is just a month after we black bagged Maduro in the dark of night, and I mean, everything seemed okay. We lobbed a couple of heaters into the, right? Blew that up on our way out, and now blew up the head of the narco-terrorist cartel network in Mexico. Trump promised he would do this, and he's like making good on his promises, and there's something to be said about that, frankly. El Mencho, you know, remember? That was like a weekend ago. 1 weekend ago, we took out El Mencho. Caroline Leavitt saying the United States provided key intelligence support in order to do that. This was a Trump U.S. military operation carried out by Mexican forces. Cartels are going to be purged. This is the Monroe Doctrine effect. The Monroe Doctrine is, of course, you should control your hemisphere. And that's what the Venezuela play is. I think it's what the Iran play is, quite frankly. I'll explain that in just a second. The Iran play is obviously to deprive and scare the literal hell out of Russia and China, to bring Russia back into the fold, to prove America is a very, very strong partner that can do anything we want, and that we're just in control. We're in control of Europe. We're in control of the world. Reject that. Marco Rubio saying the old world order is dead, and he means it. U.S. military assists Ecuador in first land operation against cartels. So here we go again. U.S. military launching, effectively, cartel wars in Ecuador. Look at this. United States and Ecuador carried out a joint military operation against designated terrorist organizations in Ecuador. The U.S. role was limited in advising Ecuadorian troops, and they did not participate in the actual ground operation. A source familiar with the operation told ABC News. You can see here that there is narco-terrorism footage posted on X. U.S. Southern Command, Ecuador, and this is March 3rd. So yesterday, Ecuadorian and U.S. military forces launched an operation, designated terrorist organization in Ecuador. Operations are a powerful example of a commitment. Together, we took decisive action to confront narco-terrorists who have long inflicted terror violence in the hemisphere. So there it is. And you can see here footage of a couple of military choppers being used, extractions, operations, probably somewhat similar to what the Maduro operation would have looked like. There you go, and some the hype edit set to the hype edit music. I mean, there you go. U.S. military joins forces with Ecuador to take out domestic terrorist organizations. You're not safe, no matter where you are. You're not safe. Iran, Venezuela, Mexico, now Ecuador. U.S. forces operating on multiple fronts simultaneously. It's a flex. Trump is turning the world into a GTA 6 mission map at this point. Tracking the world's major cocaine route to Europe. It's directly through Ecuador. And so this is where the operation took place. Obviously, the president of Colombia is scared as hell, calling President Trump. And intervention in the Americas, intervention in the Middle East. Yeah, Matt Gaetz saying this is better. I agree. Feels more natural. I really like the Venezuela play. Our troops are busy right now. Together we're taking decisive action to confront narco-terrorists. The operations are a powerful example of what happening in Latin America. It's not holding back anymore. What is he planning next? Well, he kind of said so. The electoral system in Cuba has collapsed. National blackout. All thermoelectric plants and generators are out of the system. The dictatorship has issued no-fly zone for all airports. Cuba hit by electricity blackout. Oh boy, that's from today, by the way. Cause unknown. The cause is unknown. That's right. President Trump just seconds ago at the White House. Maybe Cuba's next.
No money, they have no anything right now, but they're talking with us, and maybe we'll have a friendly takeover of Cuba. We could very well end up having a friendly takeover of Cuba. After many, many years, we've had a lot of years of dealing with Cuba. I've been hearing about Cuba since I'm a little boy, but they're in big trouble, and we could very well, something good, I think very positive for the people that were expelled or worse from Cuba that live here.
I mean, Marco Rubio, obviously, family came here from Cuba. You have, he's the Secretary of State. You have Lindsey Graham now on Fox News saying Cuba is going to get their asses handed to them. Lindsey Graham, Cuba is next. Their days are numbered.
Maduro, the gold standard for Republicans, maybe any president when it comes to foreign policy. Maduro, everybody talked about him. Well, Donald Trump's got him in jail. Cuba's next. They're going to fall. This communist dictatorship in Cuba, their days are numbered. The Iranian regime, the mothership of international terrorism, is about to collapse.
Okay. Again, time will tell. Time will tell. Wisdom and its
fall flat on their hypocritical faces. Well, that's what happened in Manchester when a mourning event for the Ayatollah was crashed by Iranians celebrating his death. Oh, we love to see it. And they're holding a Trump picture. They love him. And how about Kamala Harris getting walloped by this Iranian?
He has put American troops in harm's way. I unequivocally oppose this war of choice.
But I have to say, I am tired of seeing some politicians here in America, especially Democrats, making this about their own politics, scoring political points like Kamala Harris. Suddenly, she kept quiet about the massacre. Suddenly, she found a voice.
Yes, Kamala found her voice and probably a bottle of wine. Well, the representative for Somalia, aka Ilhan Omar, has proven once again why she is a much better fit for Mogadishu than she is America. Here she was on the floor of the House, desperately trying to halt Donald Trump's action against Iran.
Is unilaterally dragging this nation into an illegal and unjustified war with Iran. As someone who survived the horrors of war, I know that bombs do not build peace or create stability. Military strikes will not make us safer.
I mean, she actually has the audacity to stand in front of America and lecture, because to me it seems that she hates the US. Now, I know that you're going to love this. Have a listen to Elizabeth Hasselbeck on The View destroying the dumb bimbos on the rest of the panel who have nothing left to say.
We need a strong border, especially now with our current global situation. And I believe that you may say you don't want border control and you're against ICE, but I actually don't believe you in your daily lives. How many people in the audience here had to go through security to get here? Raise your hand, just be honest. Otherwise you go to jail, I guess, for illegal trespassing, right? This is an authorized audience. They had to go through security to get through the border, to get right here, to just hear us talk. We need strong borders more than ever right now. We are being infiltrated.
Can I give you a...
And let's be honest, they'll never have her back again because she's too good for the rest of them. The suicidally stupid trio, Joy, Whoopi and Sunny, must be beside themselves. Well, good news, folks. It's all over for deranged lunatic and crock of you-know-what, Jasmine Crockett, because she's officially an all-American reject. She's been forced to concede her race for the US Senate in Texas after suffering a humiliating and embarrassing defeat to a lesser-known Democrat, State Representative James Tallarico.
No one. I gotta get through this.
And so now she cries. I mean, it couldn't have happened to a better person.
You're yelling.
Don't want
Calm
me to
down.
Be,
Can
no,
you please calm
don't
down?
tell me to calm down,
Calm down.
because y'all talk
Calm
noise
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look,
come,
Chairman,
if I
can
come
we
and
send
talk
out
shit about her,
Just because someone has committed a crime, it doesn't make them a criminal.
I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like what? Must that hold a beat, bro, in the back, he a freak, though, man down, call like Ember Lambs, tell him breathe, now them boys to the front.
Yes, goodbye and good riddance, you race-baiting, in need of anger management classes, utter moron. And yet, right on cue, here are the lefty meltdowns about it.
This is not about that! Okay, I'm so upset. I cannot believe this is happening to our country. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves, Governor Abbott. All y'all. Shame. Shame. Shame on you guys. This is ridiculous. You're going to do whatever you can to suppress our votes. You already gerrymandered everything.
Yeah, oh dear. Well, at least Jasmine has one fan at least. And have a listen to the guy who's actually won that race, James Tallarico. Is this seriously the best the Dems could come up with?
Is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
Right. God is non-binary. Okay then. And it doesn't end there. In fact, he may even be worse than Crockett.
Trans children are God's children, made in God's own image. There's nothing wrong with them. Nothing at all. They are perfect, they are beautiful, and they are sacred.
I mean, this is truly sick. And this is peak lunatic asylum. And it won't even shock you to know that he can't even say the word woman.
As citizens, every one of our neighbors with a uterus became the property of the state.
Neighbours with a uterus? Wow, that is a new one. That's a new one. And now to tampon Tim Walz, who has copped it in Congress, and, well, guess what? He doesn't even know what a woman is either.
What is a woman? Have you learned that lesson? Do you know what a woman is?
I'm the governor of Minnesota, Congressman.
You know what a
I'm
woman
not here
is.
to be your prop for your obsession.
So
I
if you
taught
can't
middle school your
define what a
obsession.
woman is, you certainly can't define what fraud is. If you can't even define what a woman is, you can't define fraud. How much money was spent on autism in Minnesota in 2017, Governor?
I don't have those numbers in front of me, Congresswoman.
Did you prepare for this hearing today? Did you
I
do
did.
any preparation
I
for
take
this hearing
Congress
today?
seriously.
I mean, this guy was almost vice president, can you believe? Now, please watch and enjoy this moment.
When Barack Obama was choosing his vice presidential candidate, he had three criteria. He wanted to make sure he picked somebody that wasn't as smart as him and had less talent and charisma and couldn't possibly outshine him, so he picked Joe Biden. And then Joe Biden in 2020 used the exact same criteria, and he picked Kamala Harris.
Yeah, and then he actually went on in that clip to say it's very clear why Kamala chose you, Tim, okay? Bottom of the barrel stuff, and ain't that the truth? Now to Elizabeth Warren, who went to a classified briefing only to report back on said classified briefing.
I just left a classified briefing on Iran, and here's what I can say. It is so much worse than you thought. You are right to be worried.
I mean, the propaganda is outstanding. And look, while the world is dealing with a crisis in the Middle East, UK MPs decided to take part in ballroom dancing.
Here we go, ready, time? Here we Very good.
Well, the Iranian regime is gasping for air as the joint US-Israeli assault on the nation continues.
So we're in a very strong position now, and their leadership is just rapidly going. Everybody that seems to want to be a leader, they end up dead.
Meanwhile, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has served CNN anchor Caitlin Collins on a plate after the journalist ranted about the criticism of the liberal media's coverage of the deaths of 6 US service personnel in the Iranian strikes.
But Hegseth was complaining that it was front page news about these 6 service members who were killed.
That's not what the secretary said, Caitlin, and that's not what the secretary meant, and you know it. You know you are being disingenuous. There is not, we've never had a secretary of defense who cares more.
Get through where tragic things happen. It's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad.
Yeah,
as you know, we cover the deaths of U.S. service members under every president.
The press does only want to make the president look bad. That's a fact. Especially you. No, listen to me. Especially you and especially CNN. And the Secretary of Defense cares deeply about our war fighters and our men and women in uniform. He travels all across this country to meet with them, to connect with them, and your network has hardly ever probably reported on that.
Joining me now is Wrong Speak Publishing founder Adam B. Coleman. Adam, good to see you. Thanks for joining me. What is with the liberal media's obsession with demonising the president, even during an historic moment in time when a threat to the West has now been taken out?
Yeah, well, I mean, old habits die hard. They can't help themselves but to frame just about anything that he does as being negative. All common sense goes out the window when your only objective is to attack the president. This is not to say that Donald Trump shouldn't have some sort of criticisms about how the war is even started in the first place. He's the president of the United States, so he's not immune from criticism. But when one particular media outlet, let's say CNN, for example, 99% of the time publishes commentary that is explicitly negative towards the president, they have a bias. In the same way, if I publish 99% of commentary against Democrats, I guess I have a bias as well. Right? But they are unwilling to acknowledge these things. They think that they're arbiters of truth, and they're not.
No, they're certainly not. And in the end, they have to be objective. I mean, that is the role of an impartial news organisation. And none of them ever show any sort of media coverage on this in an objective manner. These are the comments the CNN journalist was referring to by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Have a look.
This is what the fake news misses. We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground. We control their fate. But when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad, but try for once to report the reality. The terms of this war will be set by us at every step.
Oh, I thought they were pretty fair comments. He also said this, have a listen.
The leader of the unit who attempted to assassinate President Trump has been hunted down and killed. Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh. Now, this is not a mission accomplished.
Adam, I thought those comments were strong. They were straight to the point. In the end, he is head of that department and he has got to be strong in his commentary. But the left go after him. They attack him and the administration. What does it say about the agenda?
Yeah, the agenda is to go after Trump in any sort of way and go after anyone who's attached to Trump in his administration. I mean, what he said was relatively rational. I get if you try to, like what Caitlin Collins was trying to do, take that one little snippet and pretend that he has no moral compass, no feelings about the death of any service member as a service member himself. I think it's a very disingenuous look at things. What he's actually saying is the way that they're engaging minimizes casualty. She's not understanding that perspective. So once again, this is a heavy bias to try to find something wrong with actually a situation that could be far worse with a reckless president who's barely alive and can't even walk downstairs.
Well, spot on, exactly. I'm interested to get your views on the polling. There was one that came out a few days ago. It said 1 in 4 Americans, a majority of course Republicans, say they approve of the US military strikes on Iran. The national survey by Reuters Ipsos indicates about half believe Trump is too willing to use military force. 27% said they approve. 43% disapprove, nearly 30% not sure. Carolyn Levitt says Donald Trump has support. Have a listen.
Does the president believe the country supports the actions that he's taken so far in Iran?
I think he does, and I think the president knows the country is smart enough to read past many of the fake news headlines produced by people in this room that this action was unjustifiable. Again, this is a rogue terrorist regime that has been threatening the United States, our allies, and our people for 47 years.
Adam, I'm interested to get your thoughts. How have the strikes been received over in the US?
You know, it's interesting. It seems to be mixed, and it's not necessarily left or right. You know, I'm in my early 40s. I still remember, you know, if we just go into Iraq, we'll just stop everything. And if we go into Afghanistan, we'll fix everything. And that became what seemingly we would call like forever wars, where just continuous occupation. So a lot of Americans are very war hesitant. Any sort of battle or any sort of military action, we just become very hesitant of moving forward. But what's happening here is different. So I'm generally not pro-war just for the sake of war. I'm pro-diplomacy. But what's happened here is that diplomacy failed. From what I can tell, diplomacy failed when it came to Iran, and they were trying to develop nuclear weapons. And so Donald Trump is the one president, as a lame duck president, he'll be out in a few years and doesn't care. And so he's going to move forward, but he's going to move forward with the intention of not having boots on the ground. And so I think that is the most important part, to minimize human casualties coming from our side.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's going forward, you know, with or without the approval, basically. Which actually brings me to my next topic. Where is the international community? Because you'll recall Keir Starmer copped a real shellacking, as we like to say here in Australia, by Donald Trump when he said, well, he's no Winston Churchill. And now the UK PM has doubled down on his criticism of the strikes. Have a listen.
The protection of UK nationals is our #1 priority. We're taking action to reduce the threat, with planes in the sky in the region intercepting incoming strikes, deploying more capability to Cyprus, and allowing US planes to use UK bases to take out Iran's capability to strike. What I was not prepared to do on Saturday was for the UK to join a war unless I was satisfied there was a lawful basis and a viable, thought-through plan. That remains my position.
Adam, where are America's allies?
Well, America's allies, many of them have the same Trump derangement syndrome as everybody else here on the political left. But even more so, you know, if I'm to be very blunt, much of the leadership that resides in Europe is filled with weak men who are in charge. These are people who don't have the stomach to say the unpopular thing that needs to be said. They don't go against the grain whatsoever. They don't stand up for anything. They bend at anyone's will. And so I cannot be surprised that they would not stand up for an ally in the United States. And I'm sure some of them are butthurt about tariffs and Trump seemingly not, going with whatever deal they had in the past and the status quo and challenging them. So, none of this surprises me. Keir Starmer, I've always seen him as a weak man, just in general. But this is par for the course when it comes to European leadership. So, we'll see if they do something if Iran starts really going after UK facilities throughout the world. We'll see about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be watching that one closely. Now, look, I've got to ask you about this. A woke student has been brutally mocked after saying that she and her LGBT friend want to move to Iran and get away from Donald Trump. Have a look.
I think that people have misconceptions about religion, especially with Muslims and Islamic regions.
I was not expecting you to be so pro the Ayatollah and pro dictator.
Well, yeah, we have a dictator in our own country.
I have a challenge for you. We will buy you a ticket, a one-way ticket to Iran.
We really?
Would you go? Would you take that?
Yeah.
Are you part of the LGBTQ community at all?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go with her? Do you want to bring your boyfriend?
Sure, why not?
Well, where to start, Adam? Where to begin? I wonder how that would go down in Tehran.
This sounds like luxury beliefs. I would question if they even have a passport. When you spend your life secluded in American corners, complaining about the most mundane stuff that has happened to you, God forbid the bus is a little bit late, God forbid the person you voted for didn't get into office, God forbid that you experience some sort of minute difficulty that is the most harmful thing that any human being can actually go through. And they have no clue about the oppression in other countries whatsoever, whether it's Iran or any other nation. So these are people who are functionally illiterate about the world. They know nothing about real oppression. They know nothing about such things, yet they live in a country filled with immigrants who escape it, who come here. And even though they may not have passports, never talk to these people, never inquire as to, hey, why did you risk your life to come here? Why did you uproot your life to come to the United States? And if they did, they realize that there is something special about this nation, but they won't.
No, they won't. I mean, they would rather go over to Iran under a regime before it was toppled that literally was shooting its own citizens on the street, shoot to kill. Honestly, you're right, they've got no clue. Before we let you go, Adam, California taxpayers have been footing the bill for Kamala Harris's security team as she tours the nation promoting her book, and this is on top of her failed $1 billion presidential campaign.
And see Jasmine Crockett crying because she's losing.
A white guy just beat a black woman in the Texas Democratic Senate primary. Jazzy Crockett conceding the race against James Tallarico just this morning. But last night she was crashing out, claiming foul play and accusing Republicans of cheating.
So long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating, then they will continue to do it.
This is what Republicans like to do. And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why.
This is not America! Okay, I'm so upset. I cannot believe this is happening to our country. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves, Governor Abbott. All y'all. Shame. Shame. Shame on you guys. This is ridiculous. You're going to do whatever you can to suppress our votes. You already gerrymandered everything. And you just got to make it worse. You just got to make it harder, huh? That's okay. I still fucking voted, you bastards.
And when she loses, if she loses, which I believe is highly likely, they will blame the usual suspects. And those usual suspects are black men.
I don't like the way Jasmine Crockett is talking. I don't think that helps the Democratic Party.
When I hear Jasmine Crockett talking about how I'm just against all things and everything Trump, is that legislating? Isn't it an obligation that you have to come up with something? If the other party is in office, you have to go from thinking that you're going to get what you want if your party was in the White House, and instead transitioning to how can I work with the other party to get some of what I want, because I know I'm not going to get most of what I want because they won the election. Jasmine Crockett has been invited on this show multitude of times. You sitting down talking to everybody else, how come you sit down and talk to me? Scared of what I'm going to ask? I don't know. I have no clue.
Black folks, the real reason why people did not want Jasmine Crockett to win, it isn't policy, y'all. It's not her experience and it's not her incompetence. It's about two things, y'all. It's race and it's gender. Because to this country, a black person winning is already too much, y'all. But y'all put a black woman winning, that's double the threat, double the hate. And y'all know what's even sadder and even sicker and even more sadistic? You've got black men online tearing Jasmine down for her wigs, weave, lashes, ghetto, being loud, throwing her under the bus, doing the goddamn work of white supremacist ideology for free. Still competing with black women, still trying to police them, still not realizing that her winning is not a loss for you, it is a win for an entire race. We throw that word around ghetto, but what exactly is ghetto? And how come it don't stick to white folks when they do the same goddamn thing? Because when black folks talk loud, dress bold, wear wigs, weave lashes, it's called unprofessional, too hood. But when white folks turn around and cosplay and do the same thing, that same behavior, it's relatable, it's authentic, it's quirky, and it's shared and it's celebrated. Same behavior, different skin, different type of judgment. So now, this backlash isn't about standards. It's about who they think is allowed to lead. And until we stop internalizing white superiority and projecting it back on black women, we'll keep sabotaging our own race.
So the other night, Jasmine Crockett lost her primary to James Talrico. And it was a tough fight, but it was eventually Jasmine had to concede the race. And a lot of women online, a lot of black women online are crashing out over this. This is a very emotional loss for them. And you have black women blaming a lot of things right now. White supremacy, racism, gender, sexism, black men, whatever. But I don't think black men can really take credit for this one. Anybody who knows politics could have told you this was a tough race for Jasmine Crockett. She did not poll well on a statewide level. She did really well in her district as a representative of that particular base, but on a larger statewide level as a senator, she just did not poll well. And on top of all that, she spent a lot of time insulting members of that base, white and Latino voters. Those are the very people outside of black America that you have to rely on to get that vote across the line. And that just didn't happen for Jasmine Crockett. She went really hard at white men in particular.
You can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country.
I am tired of the white tears. Listen, if you are competent, you are not concerned. When I walk into Congress every single day, you know why I don't feel away and why you can't make me doubt who I am? Is because I know that I had to work 10 times as hard as they did just to get into the seat. When you look and you compare me to Marjorie Taylor Greene or me to Lauren Boebert, there is no comparison. And that is the life that we have always lived. So the only people that are crying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder.
Keep it gangsta, dog. Keep it gang, keep it gang, keep it gangsta, dog. Keep it gang, keep it gang, keep it gangsta, dog. Keep it gangsta, keep it.
Frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, you know, we're happy because now we feel safe. I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists.
I thought it was so funny. I don't know that I thought it was funny, but it said that Caucasian Americans are dying at a higher rate than they are actually being born.
Yeah, that is true, I think.
So, with what's happening with the lack of a growth rate in white America, but it's not the same for Black America or Hispanic America or Asian America. And if the trend continues to go this way, then we're going to be put in a situation where the majority will become the minority.
You got 300 years. Get your affairs in order.
Right, right.
Voting data shows the Latino vote was the tipping point that pushed James Tallarico to victory over Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Crockett did extremely well with the black vote. I'm sure she did, mainly probably with the black woman that showed up just because she's sassy. They ain't give a fuck that she was voting against women's rights and she fought so hard for trans and illegal immigrants, right? Speaking of illegal immigrants that you fought so hard for, you was acting like you cared about them and you was fighting for them because you cared. But the Latino people was listening to every word you was saying, and you was saying a whole lot of disrespectful shit about them, like this.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
How many of you are sending your kids to college to go and work on them? Okay, well, guess who is working the farms? So that you can afford your food. So that you can have food. So that you can have food. Now, how many of you are looking to send your kids into hospitality after this college education so they can go and make the beds at the hotels? How many of you are planning to send your kids to college? Because that's what we do here. We send everybody to college. How many of you are planning to send your kids to college so that they can then go and build these houses? So the reality is that so long as we live in a capitalist society, there's always going to be someone or a group of people that will do work that some of the rest of y'all don't want to do. These are the people that are really making us great in this country.
The tongue is the mighty sword, Jasmine. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Talk less and listen more. You said a whole lot of disrespectful shit, but you was acting like you cared about them, but they was reading between the lines. They heard everything. You basically was saying the only reason why you want them here is to be slaves. How disrespectful. Coming from a black woman who always speak about what everything black people went through with slavery and all that, but yet you just keep speaking like only reason why you want them here is to make our beds and to pick our crops and to do all the dirty work that we're not doing. Pick cotton and shit like that. Disrespectful. They heard every word. The tongue is the mighty sword and it buried you. Remember that.
Very sad news. I wanted to get to it yesterday, but I didn't have time and I didn't have the capacity to get to it yesterday. So we're talking about it now. I'm gonna keep it to myself, Reprimander. We're gonna talk about it now. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Best time to join the Patreon is the beginning of the month. You really don't want to miss out on the Patreon, I'm telling you. But this is very sad about these young Florida boys, 12, 13, and recently turned 15. Raped a 12-year-old girl in Overtown. A lot of y'all know where Overtown is. Overtown is one step over from Wynwood, which is directly next to the Design District, is next to Midtown, and then you jump over to Biscayne. You can go over to South Beach, over on Miami Beach, or you can go downtown towards Brickell. So Overtown is not even that far. I'm gonna let the story tell itself, and then y'all tell me what y'all think about it. Again, make sure I hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications.
Turning now to a disturbing safety alert. A 12-year-old girl allegedly raped by 3 teenagers who are all being charged as adults. Local 10's Magda Luisa is live in Miami with distressing details. Magda.
Janice, you know, this alleged crime happened in June, but it wasn't until this week a grand jury said these minors need to be charged as adults. This is why we are showing you their faces. Now, the details in this alleged crime are very disturbing. We want to warn you.
Molly, don't tell us your opinion on this. I'm going to get it tonight.
2 boys and a 15-year-old boy are facing serious charges as adults in connection to a rape case involving a 12-year-old girl.
So you're 12 years old? You're 13 years old?
Police say the co-defendants, Nelson Nunez, Josiah Jones, and Xavier Tyson, all played a part in the crime that took place in an Overtown community garden in June.
You were indicted by a grand jury and transferred to from juvenile court to adult court. That's why you are here.
Police reports say the victim was leaving her friend's house when 13-year-old Nelson Nunez grabbed her, forced her on a couch inside the Greenhaven community garden, and raped her, while 12-year-old Josiah Jones and Xavier Tyson, who was 14 at the time, restrained her. Police say Jones put rocks in her mouth to stop her from screaming.
What? What? Now, let me preface this. I had to catch myself because I did a reaction video to this and I had to catch myself. And the reason why I had to catch myself is because I still have to keep the same energy. Innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. I don't know how true this is. I can't say that it happened for a fact. But this is what's being alleged. This is what witnesses said that came forward. This is what her father is saying that called her name, which was the only reason that they saying that these boys stopped. This is what her mother is saying, and this is what why police are charging these boys as adults. They put rocks in her mouth to stop her from screaming. Do you know how sick you gotta be? They say that this was happening for at least 30 minutes. That one of the boys was assaulting her, and then two of the other boys was holding her down. What kind of prison is this? This is the type of stuff that you read, that you see on Oz, or you see on the movie Locked Up with Master P, which Master P did a really good job. I rewatched some of his scenes the other day, and he did a really, really good job on that. Master P was acting his ass off in Locked Up. I forgot if it's Locked Up, what's the name of it or whatever. This is the stuff that you see on a movie, right? This is some stuff that they describe in prison. They describe guys holding other guys down while another guy takes advantage of a person. Who would think to put rocks in her mouth to stop her from yelling and screaming? A 12-year-old girl. And one of the things that we don't talk about enough in the community, let me say this. One of the things that we don't talk about in the community, you know what we don't talk about? Let me give myself some space. We don't talk about how a lot of these kids grow up to be gay, they grow up to have trauma, they grow up to trauma bond, they grow up to be pimped out because they don't think that nobody loved them unless they put their hands on them or stick in them. We don't talk about how they all look to love through somebody else because they're not used to being told that I love you unless somebody is taking advantage of them when they're little kids. It's a lot of kids that's getting taken advantage of, man, these young girls. And so that's why we so adamant and vigilant against our kids being assaulted under any circumstances. Listen, you could do whatever you want to do with your own life once you become an adult. But the one thing that we don't advocate for is kids to be taken advantage of like this, and to know that it's possibly, allegedly, because again, I like to say innocent until proven guilty, and to possibly know that these young boys was all watching. And it's another issue that I want to bring up too, was all participating and watching in some way, shape, or form, putting rocks in this little girl's mouth while she was being assaulted in a park. In a park. It's insane. It is insane. I'll say this, because I have a daughter, and I am vigilant for any possible thing that can happen to my daughter. I pray that I don't have this type of reaction, but I haven't made it there yet. And this is how I know I'm still trying to figure it out as a saint. I don't know if I could wait. Cause see, this happened last year. This happened in October 2025. They just now getting charged for this. Cause witnesses just now came forward. I would have to pray fervently that God somehow, some way pricked my heart or calmed me down, because I am not the type of person that can allow for anything physical that can happen to my daughter or anybody else around me. I would have to pray so vigilantly, because my natural instinct would be to crash out, because everybody gotta go. Judge Dredd, jury, executioner. What do you mean? I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna talk? I'm not negotiating with the police. I am the police at that point. I'm not. I have to pray, because I know that that's not the way to handle it. I know that throwing my life away and actually having that be basically throwing my daughter's life away, because she no longer gonna have a father in her life, because I would be in prison for the rest of my life, right? I'm not sure that I don't want that. And I pray that something like that never happens, because I would imagine that any father would be on fire. My natural instinct. This is diabolical. This is absolutely diabolical. And I want to know who the parents are too. Who are the parents of these monsters?
The victim says
Allegedly.
It went on for about 30 minutes and the boys stopped when they heard her father calling her name. We've learned from the founders of the community garden Green Haven Project, telling Local 10 the situation has been very saddening. They say the garden is closed off to the public outside of normal operating hours, and on that day, a construction company cut the side gate, which allowed for anyone to enter the garden. The organization said it extended support to the victim, adding, "We will always be here to support in the best way possible, and that our extension of love and resources will always be available to the victim and her family, which we very much cared for." Both the 12 and 13-year-old are at the West Detention Center, both of them being held there without bond. As far as Xavier Taylor, the 15-year-old, we have not seen that he has seen a judge just yet, but when he does, we'll update you on what happens there. And we have also reached out to everyone involved in this case, their representatives, and that includes the victim in this case, and we have not heard back from anyone just yet.